Thanks for joining us on this edition of Business Daily. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Lee Ji-yoon. Before we get started, let's first take a look at today's highlights. Not everyone can smile when it comes to running their own businesses. Despite the recent surge in the number of startups, those who find success are limited. The MERS outbreak here in the country is not helping the Korean economy too much these days, despite the fact that domestic spending has been picking up. These stories and more coming right up. Korea's largest conglomerate, Samsung, faces a legal roadblock in a proposed merger of its two units aimed at paving the way for new leadership. U.S. hedge fund Elliott Associates said Tuesday that it has started legal proceedings for an injunction at a court in Korea to stop Cheil Industries' takeover of Samsung C&T. Elliott, which has the third largest stake in the construction and trade unit, has urged other shareholders to oppose the takeover, saying the deal is unfair and unlawful. Shareholders are scheduled to vote on the proposed merger next month. Cheil Industries is the de facto holding company of Samsung Group, which is controlled by family ownership through cross-shareholdings. Now, there's some good news for Samsung as Samsung Electronics has held tight to its #1 spot in the Latin American smartphone market. Technology market researcher Counterpoint said Samsung's share of sales volume in the region was near 30% in the first 3 months of this year, nailing the crown for the 15th consecutive quarter. The researcher says Samsung's strategy to supply a wide range of low-cost phone models helped boost sales. The runner-up was another Korean phone maker, LG Electronics, which secured 11% of the market, followed by Apple and Chinese manufacturers. Korea will see a gradual growth in consumer prices in the latter half of this year. This is according to the Korea Center for International Finance, which said a handful of foreign investment banks have adjusted their inflation outlook for the country. BNP Paribas revised its annual projection to 0.9%, up 0.1 percentage points. Nomura forecast inflation to reach 1.5% by year-end, and Barclays said it would peak at 1.3% in the second half of this year. The institute cited factors such as El Nino and the rebound of oil prices, which will contribute to a hike in groceries and consumer prices in general. Now, news about the MERS outbreak is still topping the headlines here in Korea. And although the government has been reassuring people that the economy will maintain its resilience, a latest state report is suggesting otherwise, saying that the outbreak could have a bigger impact on the Korean economy. Our Kwon So-ah on this story for us this morning.
Korea's finance ministry says the job market isn't growing fast enough, and production and investment isn't getting better due to sluggish exports that have been falling over the past 5 months. Raising a degree of optimism is that domestic spending has been picking up. But with the MERS virus continuing to spread, there is concern that it won't last long. Although cheap oil prices have contributed to an on-month rise in department store and retail sales in May, experts say worries cannot be contained.
It's certain that this outbreak will worsen consumer sentiment in the short term. If the situation doesn't come to an end fast, it'll impact the overall economy, just like SARS or Ebola did.
The public sentiment, however, seems to be divided.
I usually have to try out cosmetics before I buy them, but I'm afraid of contracting the virus.
Since I can come into contact with many people in the public, I'll try to search online for what I need to buy.
Many years ago, I lived in the year of the SARS in Hong Kong, and it was much more serious than what I feel here in Korea.
To lessen the negative effects MERS may have on the rebounding consumption, domestic and foreign think tanks predict a key interest rate cut might be a solution. The central bank will make a decision on that later this week. Kwon So-ah, Business Daily.
Now, what if you had to open the door for someone but you weren't home? What if you just remember you had left your burner on but you're far from home? Well, worry no more because the smart home era will let you lock or unlock your door and shut off your gas as well, even when you're out. Our Eunice Kim has more.
An apartment unit in Seoul's Pangbae neighborhood. The window slides open suspiciously as an alarm is triggered on the homeowner's smartphone.
I live with my younger sister, so I'm always worried about burglars. But with features like this, I can relax.
Reading a book on the couch, you don't have to get up to turn off the lights. Homemaker Cho Yoon-jin walks out of the house having left the burner on. Instead of rushing home, she can switch off the gas with a touch on her smartphone.
We tend to be forgetful at our age, so having a tool like this is really helpful to check whether the door was locked and the gas switched off.
Such connectivity between smartphones and household appliances is emerging one at a time. You can also check how much electricity you've used in real time, allowing for a well-balanced use of energy.
You can efficiently use energy by planning ahead and executing those plans.
The much talked about smart home is entering further into our daily lives as mobile operators elbow each other to feature more Internet of Things products. But the biggest problem is still security. As in the case of a hack attack, elements of the private life can be made public and lead to some serious damages. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
These days, the thinking among many is that if you can't get employed, employ yourself. With that in mind, Korea has seen a growing number of entrepreneurs over the years, but things haven't been all that rosy. To tell us more about this, our Shin Se-min joins us in the studio. So good to have you with us this morning.
Morning to you. Just as you said earlier, the number of Koreans choosing to work for themselves has been on a steady rise. And with the younger people turning away from the heated job market and older generations seeking self-employment post-retirement has risen chances of success within the market. So here's more. It's something many people have considered at least once.
Yes, I would like to be my own boss sometime in the future.
Since I won't have a steady income after retirement, I'm thinking of opening my own business.
A pub owner, Lee Kyung-jae, was not much different before he opened his own store back in 2013. Although his business has expanded over the years, allowing him to open up a second branch, he says it took more than enough time before opening up.
I had studied years before I opened up one of my own, starting with cooking. Knowing that many startup businesses don't result with a positive outcome, I had to be ready.
The number of new startups in Korea has surged in recent years, surpassing 84,000 as of last year, an increase of over 60% since 2005. Overall, that's 6 million Koreans who can call themselves boss. Add to that the number of people who are currently preparing to start their own business, and the number jumps to well over 10 million. This growing group includes a mix of young job seekers and baby boomers over 50 who are coming up on their retirement and looking for new sources of income. But even though the number of new entrepreneurs is ballooning, those who find success after the first couple of years is limited, especially when compared to other countries. More than 60% of startups in Luxembourg and Australia survive after the 3-year mark. In Korea, that number is closer to 40%. More than half of small and mid-sized businesses end up closing their doors, while nearly a third close within 5. The low success rate is largely because most startups and SMEs have trouble making enough money to balance out their overhead costs.
Even after opening up a business, you need to invest in it for a couple more years, at least until the business is making money. So having a continuous flow of the financial support is an important factor for startups.
Money isn't the only stumbling block. Many who decide to open their own business turn to the service sector, taking their chances in real estate, restaurants, and lodging. This, in turn, has resulted in market saturation, eventually forcing many to lose money and shut down. So experts say encouraging new entrepreneurs to look into more promising sectors like IT is the next move.
Technology-related businesses aren't for everyone and are difficult to approach for older generations. So the government should help support more investment-related opportunities and conduct learning workshops.
All right, so like you said in your story, lack of capital and also overly saturated market are posing some problems for our startups. What are some other reasons out there?
There are lack of research and preparation are considered a huge fault in many businesses that haven't been doing so well. And a lot of time people are only falling for success cases that are out on the media or on the book, when in fact such cases are only in the hundreds.
Right, when you hear about these successful stories, you think that this is all simple and everyone's going to succeed, but it's not as simple as it is. Is the government doing anything to help startups? I know the current administration has been pushing more people to open up their businesses.
You're right. The Park administration is supporting small businesses with some seed money worth about 50 million Korean won, or roughly around $44,000 US. And there are also creative economy innovation centers where it also allows small company owners to link up with a lot of business operations and collaborate with bigger firms, giving them more opportunities. But those are also limited in specific sectors and within the regions.
All right, I guess the key to seeing more success in startups would be joint efforts between the government and entrepreneurs in the future. Thank you for coming in today, Taemin.
My pleasure.
All right, that wraps it up for today, but we'll be back tomorrow with more business news that matters to you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.